TV Crazy Man here. In this video we look at more classic TV predictions that came true, some that haven't yet, and some weird coincidences that cross between TV shows, not to mention time and space, from classic television series such as Star Trek, The $6 Million Man, The Jetsons, Hogan's Heroes, Bewitched, The Incredible Hulk, and The Twilight Zone.
All sorts of fascinating things.
Now here's a super coincidence that borders on something belonging on a Ripley's Believe It or Not show. From Leave It to Beaver, a show you don't really expect the unexplained. On the episode, The Shave, Wally's barber is revealed to be Andy, who is played by Howard McNear, who actually very famously played a barber named Floyd on the Andy Griffith Show, who cut Sheriff Andy's hair a lot. But the neat thing is, Howard's role on that series didn't start until 1961, and this episode aired in 1958. The Andy Griffith Show didn't even exist until 1960.
Hi, Andy. Hello, Mr. Cleaver.
So how did Howard McNear play a barber named Andy? That's even stranger than if he would have played a barber named Floyd on Leave It to Beaver. When you think about it. Believe it or not.
Stronger. Faster.
In the 70s, the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman imagined prosthetic limbs that could respond to thought, like flesh and blood limbs, only with a nuclear power source. Today, there are mechanical limbs that do just that. This mechanical leg makes walking natural and responds to commands as if it were this man's own leg. Whether or not there will be undetectable bionic supermen running around in the future is yet to be determined, but I wouldn't doubt it if the government doesn't already have some bionic secret agents.
You show amazing strength, Colonel Austin.
Don't like even shape.
And in no time at all, you'll be the most successful...
Iris, I'm a doctor, not a politician.
Before Deforest Kelley said he was a doctor and not fill in the blank on Star Trek, he said basically the same line way back in 1955 on the TV series The Millionaire, on the episode The Iris Miller Story.
And in no time at all, you'll be the most successful...
Iris, I'm a doctor, not a politician. What am I, a doctor or a moon shuttle conductor?
I'm a doctor, not an engineer.
No, you're an engineer.
Look, I'm a doctor, not an escalator. Spock, give me a hand.
Not a magician, Spock. Just an old country doctor. I'm a doctor, not a coal miner. No, I'm a doctor, not a mechanic.
You're a doctor, not a doctor. A condemned murderer.
I'm glad you're here. Are you the doctor?
Yes, I am.
Before acting, Kelley actually wanted to be a doctor, but he couldn't afford medical school. But he did inspire a lot of people to become doctors.
Put him over there. This man's dead, Captain.
He's not dead. Take another look at him.
He's dead, Captain.
He's dead, Joe.
He's dead, Joe.
He's dead, Joe.
You keep saying that. Are you a doctor, aren't you?
My Favorite Martian ran between 1963 and 1966. It was Bixby's first series. Check out this neat Incredible Hulk foreshadowing from the episode Pay the Man the $24. It happens when Tim and Uncle Martin have traveled back into time during the Pilgrim days, and Tim ends up getting into a fight with an Indian over a girl.
Now look, I'm getting angry. I don't want to have to unleash my strength.
Sound familiar?
Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Spoilers up ahead. Dennis Weaver, famous as Chester from Gunsmoke in the Steven Spielberg movie Duel, is also widely known for one amazing 1961 episode of The Twilight Zone that he starred in, entitled Shadow Play.
Adam Grant, a nondescript kind of man found guilty of murder and sentenced to the electric chair.
You only sleep and dream because I dream you that way.
This episode, in my opinion, also seems to be an unintended continuation of his episode a year earlier on Alfred Hitchcock Presents, entitled Insomnia. Coincidentally, Dennis Weaver only appeared on one episode of The Twilight Zone and one episode of Alfred Hitchcock. Each story revolved around nightmares and sleep.
It's all connected up somehow. I know that.
On Alfred Hitchcock, he has a recurring nightmare about his wife, who died in a fire that he failed to save her from.
And there was an absolute furnace.
For all I know, Linda was already dead.
On the Twilight Zone episode, he has a recurring nightmare that he dies on an electric chair. What if Weaver's character on the Twilight Zone was condemning himself for what his character did on Alfred Hitchcock? Before that Hitchcock episode ends, Weaver ends up killing his crippled brother-in-law in self-defense, though, with the brother-in-law's own gun. Weaver's character then goes to bed, finally to fall asleep, but he does so right through a fire in his room. Perhaps in that short time between falling asleep and dying is where he had the Twilight Zone dreams related to the electric chair. Sometimes, you can dream an entire lifetime in but a few moments of sleep.
We know that a dream can be real. But who ever thought that reality could be a dream? Think about it.
You see, crime does not pay, not even on television.
In this corner of the universe, a prize fighter named Boley Jackson.
The episode Big Tall Wish focused on an aging boxer played by Ivan Dixon, who would go on to play Sergeant Kinch on the popular World War II POW series Hogan's Heroes that came out in 1965.
To all colonels, the war goes poorly. I shall seek out and find the most incompetent colonel in the entire German army. I have spoken.
Ivan's co-star on that Twilight Zone episode, The Big Tall Wish, was Kim Hamilton. In 1998, she went on to marry one of his co-stars from Hogan's Heroes, none other than Werner Klemperer, who played Colonel Klink. Unfortunately, he died just a couple years later.
The Fuhrer is looking for the most incompetent colonel in the German army to make him his new chief of staff.
Of course, Hogan's Heroes' enemy was Colonel Klink, who ran the prisoner of war camp.
Marvelous! Congratulations!
Hogan!
Here's an interesting footnote from Alfred Hitchcock Presents. In the episode Safe Conduct, we get to see, for the first time, Werner Klemperer and John Banner appearing together on television years before they were on Hogan's Heroes as Colonel Klink and Sergeant Schultz.
I was going to the convention, but they say that I'm trying to escape.
No one ever escapes from Stalag 13.
The majority of episodes on Alfred Hitchcock were crime-related stories that could happen in real life, but on occasion the show featured a little bit of science fiction, making it a bit more like the Twilight Zone. Believe it or not, Hitchcock actually had an episode involving time travel, starring Bewitch's Dick York.
I began to understand this wasn't the same day at all. It was a day 2.5 years ago.
It was the 6th season episode The Doubtful Doctor, and it had York's character traveling back in time 2 years before he was married. Dick York's bewitched character Darren Stevens would years later find himself in the same situation, only in that case it was caused by witchcraft. It's never explained as to what causes the time travel in the Hitchcock episode, but he does coincidentally have a blonde wife in this episode as well.
We're going to knock through a wall, expand, become a really big advertising agency.
And he works at an advertising agency. He also has a baby girl in this episode, just like he would a couple of seasons into Bewitched. Could this have been an unintended pilot to Bewitched that would premiere 4 years later? Another trivia fact is that it also featured John Zaremba as a doctor.
Stand by for switching.
He would go on to co-star in the time travel series The Time Tunnel in 1966. While it's not said how York's character travels back in time, based on the fact he basically wished he had never got married in front of his wife, she probably put a whammy on him just like Samantha would have. Unlike a lot of Hitchcock episodes, this one did have a happy ending, you'll be glad to know.
Well, it was that kind of a day.
York was also in another sci-fi themed Hitchcock episode, The Blessington Method, filmed in 1959. It was set in the far-off future date of 1980. Now oddly, Alfred Hitchcock died in 1980. It didn't predict 1980 very well, but it did seem to predict our current fear of germs today. Maybe it was just a little ahead of its time.
Recent scientific discoveries prove that speech is the most common carrier of the common cold. We are doing all we can to eliminate speech.
Almost all of the stars of the later TV series Bewitched, which came out in 1964, appeared on episodes of The Twilight Zone, except for the actor that played Admiral Kravis and the actor that played Fake Darren. One of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes of all time starred Elizabeth Montgomery and action star Charles Bronson on the episode 2. To heighten the coincidence just a bit more, A Penny for Your Thoughts starring Dick York aired in the 2nd season of The Twilight Zone as the 16th episode that season. And the episode starring Agnes Moorehead, entitled The Invaders, aired right before it as the 15th episode of the second season. Of course, if you ever watch Bewitched, you know she played as the hateful mother-in-law to Dick York's character Darren Stevens, who was married to Elizabeth Montgomery's character Samantha, the witch. Of course, all these Twilight Zone appearances by these stars happened before Bewitched actually became a series. Did the Twilight Zone give birth to Star Trek somehow? Most of the main cast of the Star Trek actors appeared in at least one episode of the Twilight Zone. William Shatner, aka Captain Kirk, starred in 2 episodes, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet and Nick of Time. The Nightmare episode is one of the most popular episodes of Twilight Zone, where Shatner faces gremlins that are trying to take down a plane that he's on. Leonard Nimoy appeared on the episode A Quality of Mercy, without the Vulcan ears, of course. The encounter featured Jord Takei, aka Mr. Sulu. Valley of the Shadow featured James Doohan, aka Scott. There's a list a mile long of actors that have played in both Star Trek and the Twilight Zone. But not only that, but sound effects from the Twilight Zone were also used on Star Trek.
Fascinating.
Recognize these sounds from Execution, later used on Star Trek?
A fascinating cultural development.
Which brings us to this fascinating trivia fact.
Please, Spock, do me a favor. And don't say it's fascinating. No.
Russell Johnson, who is famous as the inventive professor on Gilligan's Island, played on 2 episodes of The Twilight Zone. And both of them turned out to be time travel episodes.
It is interesting.
In the episode Execution, Johnson brings a murderous cowboy from the 1800s to present-day 1960.
Only in the last few moments did he seem to have any grasp of what has occurred.
That's far right out of there.
In the second episode, Back There, he goes all the way back to 1865, the day Abraham Lincoln was shot.
The president's gonna be shot tonight!
Well, that's it for this video. I have another video on classic TV future predictions with Star Trek, The Monkees, I Dream of Jeannie, and more that you may be interested in. I appreciate your comments and likes. Your comments are the only way I have to know what I'm doing right or wrong. So please keep them coming. It helps the video get promoted, and it's really helpful. So appreciate that. And thank y'all, and have a great day.